were woken up and had to break up this incident between Ravalawa and Musgrove. So that kind of contradicts what the Dragons have been saying, where they were saying it was not so much a heated argument. It was just two players getting a little bit boisterous. I think I heard Aaron Wood say that it was a little bit of wrestling involved, much like the Jack White and Latrell Mitchell saga. I don't know if I really believe that, because then Woodsy in the next breath said that he was asleep. So I'm not sure how he would know that unless that's been passed down the line. But regardless, it's another issue, Kurt, in a long list of absolute drama for the Dragons, not just in this offseason, dating back to the Jack de Belin saga, to the Dragons effectively refusing to play at Mudgee against Newcastle in 2019, to players like Tyson Frizzell and Karen McInnes wanting out, the Craig Young drama with the letterhead and all that was involved there with Brett Finch. It's just one thing after another, and Dragons fans are sick of it, and rightfully so, Kurt, because they have dragged this name through the mud. Like, if you jump on Twitter, you jump on social media, fans are just kicking the boot or laying the boot into the Dragons, because we're an absolute embarrassment at the moment. I don't see how management can't see how badly things are being run. And if this was a corporate company, if this was a company that was floated on the stock exchange, or even if it was another sporting club, you look over in what's happening in the Premier League and in the top leagues of European football or rugby, these players would be kicked out onto the curb for an incident like this, or if not the players, if it is a kind of a first warning for them, then heads would roll in the management department. That's not happening for the Dragons. And what's stopping this incident from kind of snowballing to further things, Kurt? Because there's already been a host of different things that have happened, and I guess the Dragons have tried to paper over the cracks recently and say, "Oh no, there's not a culture issue. There's no problems at the Dragons." Well, you just need to look at even the last 6 months, and it's been an absolute shit show at the club.
Yeah, there's two more incidents you didn't mention there. Barbecue Gate, which kind of falls in line with the JDB stuff, but also to Junior Ramon, who allegedly tried to kill a bloke. Look, the problem for me that I see it as, it's blown out of proportion because of where the Dragons have let themselves get to. If there was Danny Wilder that reported on Channel 9, if Danny Wilder had more than a heated argument, if it was more than that, he would have reported that. So to me, it's just like kicking a dog or whipping a dead horse. But it's because of the fact that the Dragons have got themselves to this point that we're talking about it. Now, I am happy to trust the club enough, and I'm happy to trust. I think it's a little bit funny that Ravalawa says, "Well, I can't even remember it."
That's a joke. That's a joke.
Well, I don't mind that. And if Aaron Woods comes out and says everyone's sweet after a sleep, then fine. If this is a story part of a news cycle in 2023, we're in big trouble, huge trouble. And if I reported every tip that I got, from different fracas or stuff like that, there's more stuff I know about things far worse than this that I haven't reported, because not necessarily trying to look after the game or protect the game in any way. It's just some of it's just not newsworthy. And I think this is just more to do with the fact that the Dragons have let themselves get to this point where, more than anything, to me, if there's a drama here, it's the time. It's 6 a.m. How can a player, and I'm trying to work this out, right? So if you play a first grade game, I know when I played, which wasn't first grade, but I played a lot of first graded out Group 6 and in Campbelltown and whatnot. If you play a later game, you get out of the ground a little bit later, you spend a bit of time in the ground, whatever it might be. But then, so there's adrenaline too for NRL players, and the fact that maybe, they were told beforehand that they were going to let their hair down in Mudgee, away from Sydney, away from the cameras and the fishbowl and all that stuff. But 6 a.m., at 1 or 2 in the morning, yeah, whatever, that's fine. And maybe if it was 1 or 2 in the morning, someone like up in Noosa with Pup Clark and Stefanovic would have recorded it, and then we would have been able to see exactly what happened. And if it was nothing, then at least we would be in a position to say, this is crap. They shouldn't have reported it to start with. But because it was 6 a.m. and there was no one around to record it or see it or witness it, we don't know what it is. So, and that comes back to the reputation of the Dragons club at the moment is, even if it is nothing, and I think it has been blown out of proportion, it's because the Dragons probably deserve to be in this spot where anything that happens now, as minor as this, is going to get blown up and reported, and it adds to the snowball, and it's death by 1,000 cuts at the moment for the Dragons.
Well, and in my opinion, they have no reason to celebrate or let their hair down. They've been training in pre-season since November. They haven't been in the dugout in the war for 12 or 18 months. They've been hopelessly outclassed in their 2 pre-season games. They got beaten by St Helens, and I know you look at the World Cup Challenge and you think, okay, well, maybe that's not too bad a result. But they were absolutely insipid in that first 40 minutes against South. And we'll talk about it more, but they were pathetic. Pathetic defensively, pathetic with ball in hand. As far as I'm concerned, yeah, we're not. People aren't saying, "Oh no, don't go and have a drink." It's fine to have a couple of drinks, but I think Zane Musgrove has history. That's why a lot of Dragons fans didn't want him anywhere near the club, and he's just proved what a waste of space he is. The Dragons are wasting money on Zane Musgrove. Your Tigers didn't want him. South didn't want him, so he went to the Tigers. The Tigers didn't want him because now they've upgraded and have actually got not only some quality football players, they've got some quality human beings in the locker room. And unfortunately, Zane Musgrove isn't one of those. He's terrible for culture, and he'd be terrible for the Dragons. Even if he was a fantastic player on the field, you'd still kind of have question marks on him because he's someone. And I was not surprised. Before the 2 names were revealed, I was kind of joking to a couple of mates that I'm in a group chat with. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Zane Musgrove, not believing for a second that he actually would be involved. And then you've got Mikaele Ravalawa, who's been out injured for so long and now finds himself back in the first grade setup, kind of using this excuse of, oh, well, I couldn't really remember what happened, which is very, very convenient when it comes to it. I just don't think they had anything to celebrate or anything to let their hair down about. Like, what have they been doing? These guys don't realise how good they've got it, Kurt. They're getting to play a game they absolutely love. They get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, money that we will never see in our lifetime, let alone in a calendar year. And on the field, the Dragons have been pathetic. The couple of wins or the few wins they got at the back end of last year papered over some massive cracks. They had one of the softest and easiest draws in the competition, and they could still only finish with a 500 record, a 12-12 record, and that was because we played a Brisbane side that immediately checked out, a Titans side which is one of the worst sides in the competition. We scraped past your boys a couple of times, scraped past the Dogs a couple of times. You play that season 100 times again, 99 times of 100, the Dragons are finishing with a worse record than 12-12. As far as I'm concerned, they owe the fan base, they owe the fans a hell of a lot. And acting like this, even though it might be a storm in a teacup, it's just another chapter in the story of the Dragons, how they've got ill discipline on the field and they've got ill discipline off the field. It's just, I'm just, along with a lot of other fans, Kurt, I'm just sick and tired of it. Sick and tired of having to be watching Fox League or be reading the paper or jumping on social media and seeing these 2-bit journos shit on the Dragons. But it's no surprise they're shitting on the Dragons because they're the gift that keeps on giving. When you got to report on rugby league, the Dragons are the ones that keep finding themselves in these issues time and time and time again.
Yeah, and look, the thing for me too is that I'm just guessing here. It could have happened, but after a performance like that, when the pressure's on you, and the pressure's on your coaching staff, and the pressure's on the veterans in the team that need to be good role models for the kids coming through.
Yeah.
I would speculate if there was a conversation at the end of the game where the first grade team got together and depending, they should be upset that they lost. And yes, it's a trial game and you've got to put that in perspective because the goal is round 2, right? Round 2 is the goal. Get ready for round 2. So the question is, was there a conversation after the game where the coaching staff or the senior players sat the whole team down and said, right, I know we've got free reign to do what we want in Mudgee tonight. Let's go for a few beers. Let's have a vote on it. Who thinks we should just go out and get as pissed as we can to the point where we can't remember what happened and get in a Barney or an argument or whatever you want to call it at 6 a.m. Or do you want to go out and let's put it up to, let's go to midnight, have a few schooners, get home early, or even pull the pin on the whole thing, go home, go back to the hotel, get fresh, go back in the morning, and have a chat over breakfast, and say we've
Yeah.
got back to Sydney and we've got things to do. So I don't